Hey everybody, welcome back to Haman's Advice Forum. I am the Haman, and I want to talk about scam jobs that I've worked. And I've worked a good number of scam jobs, and what I mean by scam jobs is jobs that are not what they seem to be, and they overpromise, and you don't really make money, but they claim that you will make a lot of money. And I think a lot of these jobs prey on the young because the young are vulnerable. And especially these days, young people are expected to do a gajillion things and be, there's this pressure unrelenting pressure to succeed. And so when you feel like you're not supported by the people around you, yet, they pressure you to succeed, you're really likely to fall prey to scams, which I have, and I admit that I did. I mean, I'm not perfect, and I attribute it to bad mentorship, bad teachers, bad environment. And I didn't grow up in a super abusive environment or anything like that. It's just I grew up in an environment where people didn't really teach me any life skills, right? So it was just a nice middle class prison. And so let's go at it. So and here's the thing. A lot of legit jobs are almost like scams too. Because let's say you're a lawyer, right? Now, if you're a lawyer and you had to get a $200,000 student loan to become a lawyer, and you actually get a pretty good job, but then the job treats you like a slave and makes you work 80 to 100 hours a week, I mean, was it worth it? I mean, you could consider that to be a scam too, but it's not what I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about is you weren't even really getting paid because, they hype you up and they string you along, but there's no money to be made. And then once they've pretty much used you up, they'll just find someone else to replace you, and the scam repeats itself. And so I'm going to talk about what I've been through. And pretty much there's a certain commonality between these scam jobs. First, they're sales jobs, right? Sales jobs, they overpromise you training and the opportunities that are there. For example, one job that I had was, well, if you work hard, you can become a manager in 90 days and then a business owner and yada, yada, yada. And most people didn't ever make that. It's just churn and burn when they're doing recruiting, and there's a high turnover rate and there's very little training. So, I remember that. People promise you the world. People talked about how they overpromised opportunities. So, for example, they'll say, oh, yeah, you could, the sky's the limit, and then you work, and they want you to, for example, cold call, but then you have to give your leads to someone who's above you, and you can't, close your sales. I've had that happen to me, and that was really frustrating because I was promised that I could, that I would, quote, be my own independent sales agent, and then but that's not that. And then so if the person above you is incompetent and can't close the case, and you don't make any money, which makes it pretty much a pyramid scheme. So I'm gonna go talk about the 3 scam jobs that I've had. So the first one was in insurance sales. Now, when I first worked in insurance sales, it turns out that this is a really common practice where they just hire a group of people with anybody with a heartbeat or a pulse, and then they overpromise you things, saying oh, we're going to train you, oh, we know what we're doing. And turns out that training is just, I don't know, a week of fluff talk or something like that. And whenever they say, oh, well, you're going to have a trainer go out with you and make sales appointments and make sales, what that means is that they just want your leads. So what I mean by that is that they want you to tap into, quote, your warm market. And what that means is people who friends, family members, people you kind of have a somewhat of a connection with, And then you call them and then you say, hey, this is, I've started a new job in XYZ, and I want to know if you could help me out with this, and set up an appointment to as part of my training. Could you help me out with that? And then they try to like sell and close them, right? And the thing is that they'll say, okay, after we work your first 100 leads from your friends and family, then we'll teach you how to market to other prospects and people who you don't know. And that's what I was more interested in, because anybody can try to attempt to sell to friends and family, but the real business is marketing to strangers and cold calling, or not cold calling, getting cold leads and selling to them, right? McDonald's doesn't have this, for example, McDonald's doesn't have this obsession of selling to friends and family, right? Because through advertisements, through their marketing and sales machine, they get random strangers to buy hamburgers from them. And that's how all sales organizations should be like in order to be sustainable. But a lot of these insurance companies are fucking lazy. And so they just kind of recruit people to use those as marketing leads, or use your warm market contacts as leads, and then try to sell to them. And then once you've run out of friends and family to contact, the training that they promised you, they'll just kind of pretend like, what are you talking about? And then move on to the next person, recruit the next person, do the same shenanigans with calling 100 warm market contacts, say that, you'd like to make an appointment with them. So for a training appointment with their new job, and then they'll try to close them once they make the appointment. And so when that happened, I mean, I liked the product, right? Like, I understood how insurance could be useful. I just didn't understand why, like, they did it in such a weird and unethical manner to recruit employees and say you're going to train them and teach them how to get business, and then not teach them, right? It is the most bizarre thing, but it's just really common, especially with sales industries. And then, the second time, it was actually for another insurance agency. And that's because I was really naive. I didn't know that that's how a lot of insurance worked. It's kind of a scam against the employee, or quote, the independent agent. And, if you tell me, for example, if you tell me you're going to train me, I want you to keep your promise and I'll work hard. But if you say you're going to train me and then act like I'm weird for wanting the training and wanting you to put your, some skin in the game, don't be surprised if people in general are kind of pissed off and angry, right? Don't be surprised about that. But that's how a lot of it is. And then so, me being naive, I thought I was just, okay, the first place I worked at, that's just how it was. So maybe I'll try it again at another place. And turns out that I had the same experience again. People, again, overpromising me things. And, I actually made even less money in the second place I worked. And you know what the sad part is? And I actually didn't mention this. They told us that we're supposed to be, quote, independent agents, and we're supposed to make sales, right? And I was like, okay, sure, man. And I made a sale, and I actually told my senior sales trainer, and I was like, what, okay, sure, I need money, I need to make sales. So I actually said to my sales trainer, yeah, I'll make an appointment by myself. Is that okay? Or can you come? And I made an appointment by myself, and he seemed okay with it. And then, next thing you know, he calls me up and he cusses at me, or he didn't cuss at me, but he was, speaking abusively to me about how disrespectful I am because I made an appointment by myself. And I was just like really hurt because I really thought I had a good relationship with him. And, he's accusing me that I'm just doing it for the commission when I'm really just more interested in making sales. And, I did make an appointment by myself and I did close. And I think I was really devastated that the people who I thought would support me weren't really there. And it's like kind of like a repeated story over and over again. And this is why I don't really trust most people. right? If you say you're going to train me, for example, if you say you want me to go out and be an independent salesperson and make sales, you should be happy when I make sales. But apparently this is really common in sales too, where if one person is actually making sales in an industry where like most people burn out, the management doesn't like that. And I don't even know how a lot of sales, I don't know, businesses even function or even make a profit with that kind of attitude. That makes absolutely no sense. But that's just how it was, and I was devastated, so I decided to leave. And then I experienced kind of the same behavior where it's like I'm trying my best and the person above me seems to be a little like unsatisfied. I'm making the most calls, I'm making getting the most leads, and I'm getting good leads, but they can't close because they're incompetent. And it's like, dude, I want to close my own cases. I'm thinking that inside, but and they're like promising us, oh no, the senior guys will close your case because they have more experience, and they don't. Well, I don't know why they're at their position, and it's just me being like frustrated that I can't get paid. I'm in a sales organization that doesn't value sales, and there's no training. And that's why I was just like, F this. But I only did that like 3 months at the second place, and I think for a year at the first place. And I had the luxury of living with my parents. And then eventually I moved out of my parents' house, right? And moved to another state. I moved to the East Coast. And, me living out on my own, I just try to find any sort of job. And so I applied to all these places, and it was another sales job. But I mean, if they said it was like, I don't know, $12 or $9 an hour minimum or something like that, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll take it. I just need something to help me pay my rent for the month. And again, it's the same pattern again. And now this time, instead of selling insurance, I was selling direct TV. Now, even with these scam jobs, you could actually learn something. For example, you sell direct TV inside a retail store. And I don't know if you've ever been to like Walmart or Costco or anything like that, or Sam's Club, and then you see a guy with a direct TV booth. Now, even though those jobs are a scam, you could actually learn certain skills doing that. Like, I remember the first time I did that, I was so scared to approach people about selling them direct TV because I figured we have the internet now, right? If you really want a direct TV, you just make a couple of clicks and and order direct TV for yourself, right? And so that job actually helped me kind of get over that fear of just approaching people to sell them stuff, because the way that most people are normally conditioned is that you should almost be ashamed to talk to strangers. And I don't really have any trouble talking to strangers. The reason I don't really talk to strangers is because most people just disappoint me in general. And but I can still talk to strangers. Like, I have no problem doing that. And so it was a $9 an hour job. And the good thing about this job is it actually had a minimum base salary, whereas the other insurance jobs were pure 100% commission. And the thing is that, with those pure 100% commission jobs, unless they actually train you and tell you how to get sales and leads, which they don't, you're not gonna have food to eat at all. So I needed the $9 an hour job, and I did that. And I remember, like, I was so afraid just to approach a person to ask them about, like, if they had direct TV or not. And I forgot, like, what the question was. There was like an opener. It's like, who do you guys have for cable? And they'd say like, oh, I got Comcast or AT&T, and oh, really? Like, check it out. We got some good deals for you. Check it out. And the funny thing is that even though I didn't make any sales at all, it actually helped me just approach people, which and I think it really helped me. Like, those experiences eventually helped me to get to the point where I'm at. And so I think after like 2 weeks, I got fired from that job. I think I got fired from that job after 2 weeks. And so, and the funny thing is that in that job, they promise so many opportunities where they say, yeah, you could be a manager after 9 months and be your own business owner. And that's a total lie too. That's a total lie. And apparently like it's this big pyramid scheme where one corporation under subsidiaries pretty much owns you, and they want you to give, like, let's say they make you establish a corporation. They want to have power of attorney over that corporation, and you know, they play all these like weird mind games and power games with you. And there's a documentary on it on YouTube too, but since I only worked there for 2 weeks, I was like, whatever. And then I think the next job I had after that was fast food. So it's not like, I still think fast food's a shit job, but it's not like a scam job where you're not even getting paid for the work that you're doing, right? And that's pretty much my experience working scam jobs. It's pretty much a combination of sales, over promising how much money you make, and high turnover, right? And I think there are people who do succeed. For example, you know, insurance sales, they're like, quote, top producers, people who make a lot of money selling insurance. But I think they're like those kid geniuses in those failing public schools where they're going to succeed no matter what, rather than, you know, you succeeding because of the environment. You succeeded in spite of the environment. And for me, I don't care enough about selling direct TV or selling insurance to succeed in an environment that gives me absolutely no support. But yeah, I mean, have any of you guys worked shitty jobs like that? You know, let me know in the comments. I heard real estate agent is pretty bad too, where it's pretty much a scam for the real estate agent. Like there's no training and no sales, you know, not, well, I guess sales training, learning how to prospect, learning how to get clients. None of that's there. It's just, they just make you sign up for the test, and then you take that test, and then after that, they couldn't give a shit about you, which is bizarre. It's like, I don't want to have waste your time, my time. But a lot of these sales agencies, real estate, insurance, direct TV, they're all kind of like that. So let me know your thoughts if you have any experiences like that below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.